Aging is often portrayed as a graceful chapter of life, a time for reflection, peace, and wisdom. But beneath the surface lies a far more complicated truth. With each passing year, the body starts to betray the mind. The skin begins to sag, joints ache, and bones become brittle. But what we often fail to realize is that the most profound changes don't happen on the outside. They unfold silently within the mind and soul. The emotional weight of aging is often heavier than the physical burdens. The fear of losing autonomy, the anxiety about an uncertain future, and the quiet grief of saying goodbye to lifelong dreams, all of these sink their claws deeper with time. We live in a world that glorifies youth. From advertisements to job opportunities, society tends to sideline those who have crossed a certain age, subtly implying that their worth has diminished. This cultural message embeds itself deeply into the minds of aging individuals, making them question their place in a world that seems to be moving too fast to care. In 2025, mental health in older adults is no longer a background issue. It is a mounting crisis that demands our full attention. The hidden epidemic, depression, and anxiety in the elderly. Let's take a moment to put ourselves in their shoes. Imagine waking up and feeling more exhausted than when you went to bed. Imagine taking a handful of pills before breakfast, some to control your blood pressure, some to ease the arthritis, some to keep your heart steady. You glance at your calendar, and it's filled not with social events or hobbies, but with doctor appointments and lab tests. The energy that once carried you through work, family, and fun has been replaced by a never-ending list of health complications. For many seniors, this is not fiction, it's daily life. And it's no wonder that depression and anxiety thrive in these conditions. The statistics are alarming. In 2025, 1 out of every 4 older adults suffers from depression or anxiety, a number that continues to rise as chronic illnesses become more common with age. But here's the critical truth. Depression is not an inevitable part of aging. Neither is living with constant anxiety about medications, mortality, or mobility. These are treatable conditions, if only we would stop overlooking them. Daily life becomes a battlefield. And when a person begins to depend on others for these once basic activities, a shift begins in their mental state. Many elderly people start to feel like they're losing control of their own lives. The loss of independence, even in small amounts, triggers a powerful emotional response, a mix of frustration, embarrassment, and fear. They may start to avoid asking for help, fearing they'll be seen as weak or become a burden. Slowly but surely, this avoidance grows into isolation, which feeds further into depression and anxiety. When your body becomes your own enemy and your world shrinks to 4 walls and a routine of survival, life begins to feel less like living and more like existing. That's a quiet, lonely war that many seniors fight every single day. Alone in a crowd, social isolation, and loneliness. One of the most painful aspects of aging isn't visible on the outside. It's the deafening silence inside a home where laughter and conversation used to live. Imagine a once busy household, now quiet. Children have moved away, friends have passed on, and the phone rarely rings. Even in a bustling city or a busy neighborhood, a senior can feel utterly devastatingly alone. In 2025, social isolation has reached epidemic levels. Studies show that over 40% of adults over 65 experience chronic loneliness, a condition that deeply affects not just the mind but the body. Loneliness is more than a fleeting emotion. It's a physiological stressor. The brain interprets social isolation as a threat to survival, triggering the same hormonal responses as physical pain. Over time, this increases inflammation, weakens the immune system, and raises the risk of everything from heart attacks to dementia. But beyond the science, it's a soul-crushing reality to feel unseen, unheard, and forgotten. Many seniors start to believe that their presence doesn't matter. Birthdays pass unnoticed. Holidays feel like ghost towns. They stop sharing their stories, their thoughts, and eventually, their hopes. In a world so connected by technology, they are disconnected in the most tragic way possible, emotionally and spiritually. The shadow of forgetting, dementia, and cognitive decline. If there is one fear that strikes deeper than death among the elderly, it's the fear of forgetting. Dementia and cognitive decline are not just conditions, they are identity thieves. They slowly unravel the intricate web of memory and personality that makes each person unique. At first, it's subtle, misplacing keys, forgetting appointments, but soon it escalates. People forget names, faces, directions to places they've been going for decades. In the most painful moments, they forget the voices of loved ones, the stories that shape their lives, and even their own reflection. In 2025, over 55 million people globally are living with dementia, with that number expected to nearly double in the coming decades. The emotional toll on both the patient and their caregivers is overwhelming. Those affected are often caught in a limbo, aware enough to know something is wrong, but powerless to stop it. This awareness breeds a silent internal terror. Will I forget who I am before I die? The shame and confusion surrounding cognitive decline can isolate seniors even further. Many retreat socially, fearing embarrassment. They stop engaging with the world, not because they want to, but because the world has become too confusing to navigate. Why no one talks about it? Mental health is a topic we've only recently begun to embrace openly. But not for everyone. For today's older adults, many grew up in a time when vulnerability was seen as weakness. Crying was discouraged, therapy was stigmatized, and mental health struggles were kept behind closed doors. As a result, millions of seniors are suffering in silence. They've learned to hide their sadness behind polite smiles, to say "I'm fine" even when they feel utterly broken. They avoid conversations about emotions, often because they feel it's pointless, or worse, shameful, and the world around them reinforces this silence. Family members may overlook signs of depression, chalking them up to grumpiness or just aging. Healthcare providers often focus exclusively on physical symptoms, with mental health questions relegated to the final seconds of a rushed appointment. As a result, the emotional wounds fester unattended, buried beneath layers of neglect, fear, and misunderstanding. A call for compassion, not pity. So where do we begin to heal this crisis? It starts not with grand solutions, but with a shift in mindset. We must learn to see our elderly not as problems to be solved, but as people to be cherished. People with stories worth hearing, wisdom worth learning, and emotions worth honoring. Compassion isn't about pity, it's about presence. It means taking time to sit with an aging parent or grandparent and listen, not just nod along, but truly hear them. It means checking in regularly, not just for chores or tasks, but for connection. It means advocating for mental health care that is accessible, dignified, and tailored to the needs of aging minds. Communities must offer programs that engage the elderly emotionally and cognitively. Churches, community centers, and local governments must come together to create safe, welcoming spaces for seniors to connect, laugh, cry, and remember that they still matter. Because they do. Growing older without growing lonely. Aging should not be a descent into darkness, but a journey into wisdom, reflection, and legacy. It should not be defined by loneliness, fear, or forgotten dreams. But that future can only exist if we take action now. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts below. Stay tuned, and we'll see you next time.